is they found their control point with that left post, as we discussed earlier. And since it's a 2-post system, we have a 19-foot width. So what they're trying to do is find the location of that second post. So basically we squared up the wall, squared up the slab to make sure that that post location is going to be perfectly square to the house. So once they've taken those measurements, what they're going to do is they're actually going to use their concrete drill and drill down the holes that attach these brackets directly to the concrete slab. So that way we can get ready for the through bolts that go through the posts into these brackets. So before we cut down these posts and before we install the last clip, we left one clip off because if you reference the WD connections, these internal 90-degree brackets actually go inside of these posts. Those are the ones we were fastening earlier to the ground. So we want to make sure that when we lay these out inside the posts, that our through bolt holes are going to align perfectly. So what you can do is take the internal clip, lay it out on the outside, and make a mark on all 3 of these holes. So that way, when we drill through the holes, they're going to fall perfectly inside of our brackets, and that way we're going to stick the through bolts through the hole and everything's laid out perfectly, so we're not guessing where those holes are in the field. So what he's doing now is he's drilling pilot holes to get the layout of the bracket, so that way you can use that hammer drill and drill all the way down. So on this structure we have a 19-foot width. So what our guys just did is they took their center of post mark and they pulled the measuring tape 19 feet to find that other post. So here's our left post and then the right post. Each are equidistant within 19 feet. Center of post to center of post is that 19-foot measurement. So the next step would be determining the height and the attachment point on the house wall. If we were building an insulated roof system like a Moderno, Contempo, or Classico, or a translucent polycarbonate system like a Fresco, we would have to determine the pitch or the slope of the roof, which is standard around a ½ inch per foot. In this circumstance, it's an Aria, so there's no real need for watershed off the shade tubes. So it's a perfect 8-foot height attachment all throughout. So we can actually attach this truss that's completely flat to the house wall, and there's actually no slope on this structure. So this is a pretty straightforward install. A little bit higher, because we want to make it as high as possible. They're probably 10-foot posts, so we got a lot to work with. Sure. Yeah.
Well, actually.
So before we lay out our last internal clip on the ground, we're going to want to make a mark on the 6x6 post so we know exactly where the through bolt holes are located on the post, and that way we can have a really easy connection when we install the posts.
Except for over here.
So 8 foot's going to be to the top of the framing, and then we're going to have a 3x7 truss that sits on top of that. So we need 7 inches of space there, plus the 2-inch shade tube. So we need 9 inches on top of that. 8, 9. On this structure, we have an 8-foot frame height. So we're going to find the 8-foot height here on the framing, but we're also going to find 8 foot on the wall. Now on these Arias, the way this one's laid out is the trusses are sitting on top of the beam. So we have a 2x6 truss plus a 2-inch shade tube that's going on top of those trusses. So we want to find that 8-foot height plus the 6 inches for the truss plus the 2 inches for the shade tube. Now on this wall, our only concern for height is these soffits that come down here on the corners. So as long as we have enough height in the middle, we're going to be able to attach our shade tubes from the very top. So the only concern for screws is going to be on these corners, which we're going to work around. So there's a couple ways you can square up the structure and determine the pitch and elevation of the slab. These guys are a little bit more experienced. They have the equipment to lay it out manually with their tape measure and their sight level. But another thing that you can do is set the first post, cut it down to your height. Then you would set your second post without a cut, the full length of the post, run a string line from the top, and then find your true elevation once your string line's completely level and make that second cut, so you know that even if there's a slope on the slab, you can have a completely flat and perfectly laid out main framing with a post and beam. Yeah. So when we lay out these on the wall, you just slide the truss right over it and then fasten 2 screws on each side.
Same with the post?
I'm talking about this piece in the front that goes this way. That doesn't.
No, you don't need to notch anything. That's an internal clip as well. So you got these bigger internal clips that so we're gonna steady that one and put the internal clip on the ground, and then once we cut that post down too, we'll put the internal clip on the post, and that way you have a little bit of wiggle room to where we can fit it on that main beam.
From here to here.
There's nothing.
There's no truss.
Well, you have trusses. You have projection trusses. So
does that sit on top of the post?
It does. Sits right on top of the post. See that?
So that sits on top of the post.
So there's the side view.
And then this edge beam mates flush to the top of the post in between.
Correct.
And then you have
the truss is sitting on top.
And then you have this that sticks from the other
side out. Is that what that is right there?
You can see it.